Hi guys. First, before we start, I have a PSA for you. We're out of school for a little bit, and I know it's hard, but I need you guys to not have play dates and tell your big brothers and sisters too not to go out with their friends. It's a really important thing we can do for our community to keep everybody from catching this virus. So that's your PSA.
And this is Rechenka's Eggs by Patricia Polacco. And I'm in Miss Page's class, and our class has read a bunch of books by Patricia Polacco. So if you're in Mrs. Page's class, I think you're gonna like this book.
Yes, I think so too. So I like this book because I make these kind of special eggs. And I'm going to show them to you in another video.
And these eggs are very pretty, and they're called bisaki. And this is just like a myth about them. But
It's
really
a made-up story. It's a fiction story. Yeah. All right. Babushka lived alone in Adaka, a little house in the country. But she was known far and wide for the fine eggs she lovingly painted. Her eggs were so beautiful that she always won first prize at the Easter festival in Moskva. Each day, Babushka would take the shell of an egg from her basket and paint it in wonderful designs. Using the shapes of stars and flowers, triangles and circles, through the long, cold winter, Babushka painted. And we don't actually paint them, we dye them. But I'll tell you all about it. Then one day, after a snowstorm, Babushka went outside. She could still hear the faint sound of falling snow. It was a sound like soft rain. Herds of caribou came to feed at Babushka's because the grasses they usually ate were covered with snow. A miracle, she whispered as she fed some. These wild things have found their way to me. Just then, a flock of noisy geese honked loudly overhead. As they glided over the snow, one of them faltered and fell from the sky. Babushka went to where the goose lay crumpled in the snow. A hunter did this, Babushka grumbled. She carefully picked up the goose and took it back with her to her little house. Now we know hunters don't purposely hurt animals unless they're going to harvest them, right? We know that. There she fed the little goose from her own table and put the goose in her best basket lined with the warmest quilt from her own bed. I shall name you a good name, one that we both like, eh, my little friend? She said as she patted the goose's head. How do you like Rechenka? Yes, then Rechenka it shall be. With Babushka's care, Rechenka grew stronger as each day passed. To repay her kindness, Rechenka laid an egg for breakfast every morning. See the icon up there? We have that one in our house too.
And baby Jesus.
Yeah, you got it. As Rechenka got better, she waddled around the little house, exploring every nook, cupboard, and corner. One day, she jumped on top of Babushka's work table, overturning the jars of brightly colored paint that she used to color the eggs. Niet, Babushka screamed as she chased the goose with a broom. No! The frightened goose flapped her wings to get away and knocked over the basket of eggs that Babushka had so lovingly painted. The eggs crashed onto the floor and shattered into millions of pieces.
You can see the beautiful.
They were both very sad. There was no reason now for Babushka to go to the festival.
You can see the beautiful lines and details on the eggs.
I'll show you all of the ones I have here, too.
The ones I do have silly designs like Baby Yoda and
Wait, we can do a Baby
but
Yoda one.
does
Okay,
pretty
okay,
ones.
let's keep reading. The next morning, Babushka slowly got out of bed and trundled over to Rechenka's basket to get her morning egg. But when she reached in to the middle of the quilt, she picked out the most brilliantly colored egg she had ever seen. A miracle, Babushka whispered. A miracle. Rechenka kind of looks like she's saying, I'm sorry.
She's like, will you forgive me?
Yeah. She made small holes at both ends of the egg and blew the yolk and white into a dish to cook and eat later for breakfast. Then she held the egg up to the morning light and marveled at its beauty. After that, every morning for 12 mornings, there was another egg, each more beautiful than the one laid the day before. Soon Babushka had enough eggs to take to the festival in Moskva. How wonderful, she thought. A miracle has replaced the eggs that were broken. And we have a little tool that you don't have to blow them out that way. But anyway, spring is here, my little friend, Babushka said to Rechenka the morning of the festival. Soon you will be flying to the north with your flock. She bustled to the hearth fire and brewed some of her most favored tea. The two shared a saucer of tea with kulach, sweet Easter bread. She covered each piece with paska, a spread of cheese, butter, and raisins. They savored each bit together. One for you, one for me, Babushka chanted. Da, da, my little friend. I shall sorely miss you. But you are a wild thing, and a miracle sent you to me. It would not be right to ask you to stay with me forever. And when Babushka left her little house, she took one last look at Rechenka sitting on the doorstep. She waved and then took determined steps for Moskva with the basket of her precious eggs.
Go.
She crossed the Lebetov Valley where the caribou mothers were walking with their newborn calves. A miracle, she thought. New little lives, a miracle. She crossed the bridge over the Moskva River, and soon she could see the onion domes of old Moskva. The festival was bright and exciting. There were goat carts selling kulich, processions, dancers, jugglers, and laughing children playing and running. Babushka showed her old friends the eggs. Her eggs were the most beautiful in all of Russia, they thought. And that's a real place. That's St. Basil's Cathedral. You can look at real pictures of it. It really is all those colors.
Beautiful. Those different, like the rainbow.
Look at them, the elder said. They almost glow, as if the paint is part of the shell itself. The judges picked Babushka's eggs as the most beautiful. Babushka was so happy. She beamed as she looked at first prize, a feather bed quilt. As Babushka made her way homeward, a honking flock of geese flew overhead. Babushka gave them a long, lingering look. She wondered if Rechenka was one of them. When Babushka arrived at her home that evening, Rechenka was gone. Alone, she put the new quilt on her little bed. She brewed a cup of tea, ate the last of the kulich and paska, and got into bed with her favorite book of poems and drifted off to sleep. She hadn't noticed Rechenka's basket.
She laid one left.
But that night, Babushka was awakened from a sound sleep by an ever so small sound. It was coming from Rechenka's basket. All right, let's find out what happens. I know, I got you. She hobbled closer and saw a glorious egg, but this one was different from all the others. It quivered and moved. It made tiny muffled sounds. The egg jumped, bumped, rolled, and pitched in the basket. What's gonna happen? Then there was a crack, and Babushka could see the very special gift that Rechenka had left for her. All a miracle, Babushka said, and this little goose remained with Babushka always.
Aww, it's the cutest
It is so cute. And that's one of my favorites by Patricia Polacco.
Hello.